Everybody, Red Crimson 102 here. I've came across an interesting article about the Nintendo Switch 2. And I'm going to read it for you guys right here, right now. Nintendo Switch 2 will supposedly boost higher in dock mode than its predecessor. May run games at high resolution but lower frame rate than Steam Deck. So, in the article, it says the Nintendo Switch 2 was designed to boost higher in dock mode than its predecessor while maintaining good efficiency in handheld mode, according to rumors circulating online. Answering a fan question in a recent video, Moore's Law is Dead commented on the console's power efficiency and expected performance, making a comparison with the popular Steam Deck. The YouTuber stated that the console was designed to boost higher than the original Switch while offering better battery life in handheld mode. In handheld mode, the console will run at 5 watts with a fanless cooling solution, whereas in docked mode, it will operate between 15 to 30 watts with an adequate cooling solution for the additional power draw. To provide a comparison, the YouTuber mentioned that compared to similar 5nm chips from AMD, the Nintendo Switch 2 chip was competitive in efficiency, primarily because it was designed with power efficiency in mind. As mentioned above, Moore's Law is Dead also commented on the Nintendo Switch 2 performance, saying that the console should be able to run every game that runs on Steam Deck, but with some important differences. As a Nintendo's console core are expected to be not as powerful as those of the Steam Deck's chip. The system is likely not going to run games as well as Valve system does. A game that runs, for example, at 90 FPS on Steam Deck will likely run at 60 FPS on the Switch 2, while a game running at 60 FPS on Valve system will probably run at 45 FPS on the Nintendo console, with VRR, aka variable refresh rate, to smooth things out, thanks to the console's GPU and NVIDIA DLSS support. However, the Nintendo system is likely going to run them at high resolution and likely with some ray tracing as well than on Steam Deck. The wording right there don't sound too right. While this may sound disappointing to people who expected the Nintendo Switch to perform better than the Steam Deck, it will still be a significant improvement over its predecessor, which will be appreciated by all current Nintendo Switch users. Okay, guys, so what are we getting from this article here? First of all, with all rumors, especially with Nintendo, should be taken with a grain of salt. A lot of the times, most of it can be false, some of it could be true, and some of it could change. So, from what I'm reading, or rather from what I've read, depending on how you look at it, could be good and bad. From what I've read, in a way, it's kind of like I'm a little bit disappointed because Nintendo's going to wait 8 years to put out a successor to the Nintendo Switch, and it's not as powerful as what's on the current market. I mean, 8 years is a huge gap, man, so I expect to be a huge leap within an 8-year time frame. Now, the good thing is, the great thing is, and the best news from this article is the fact that they said in the passage that the Nintendo Switch 2 will be able to run every single Steam Deck game. And honestly, the conversation should be done right there. That's all anybody should hear. And that's all that matters, as long as it can run current gen games. And that's what it's saying. The Switch 2 will be able to run current gen games. Now, it's saying that it won't be able to run it at 90 frames per second. Instead of 90, maybe 60. And instead of, if it's not 60, then it's around 40, 45. Well, 40 to 45 FPS is way better than 30 FPS. It's a weird resolution because I remember playing the LCD launch model Steam Deck and 40 FPS. It it gives you it's a weird feel, honestly. It's weird, but anything is better than 30 FPS. But I really guys, look, I don't think this article was negative at all. I mean, the Switch 2 will be able to run pretty much all modern games. And the good thing is at 60 FPS and at least 40, 45 FPS with the help of DLSS. So that's a good thing. So, I mean, this article kind of made it seem like it's a bad thing, but it's not really a bad thing. So the Switch will be able to run every current gen game. So that's a great thing. So which means the Switch 2, just off that fact alone, is going to be a big hit because of the current Switch, which is, I kind of don't want to say underpowered, because the current Switch is actually really capable, but Nintendo, they bogged the chip down so it could run at more efficiency, power levels to extend battery life. But anyway, guys, um, uh, it's, everything should still be taken with a grain of salt. I'll just say that. But actually, this is good news. I don't see anything wrong with this news. But come next year, we'll find out if what's true and what's false. But the Switch 2 being able to play every single game the Steam Deck can play, which is a PC handheld, is great news, guys. And finally, 30 FPS is off the table. 40 to 45 FPS is actually great, man. I think the Switch 2 will be fine. And the current Switch we have in the market, man, I mean, Nintendo did a great job with that system, being able to play those so-called impossible ports, people like to call it. So the Switch 2 sounds like it's going to be an even bigger hit than what the current Switch offers. But, grain of salt again, guys. And I also like to add that I think the Switch 2, in my personal opinion, and just more so, just going off logic and the Gamescom demos that they showed, I really do believe that the Switch 2 is going to be more powerful than the Steam Deck and the Steam Deck OLED. And I think it'll be, I kind of want to say more powerful than or at least in line with what the ROG Ally is. I think it might even be better than that just because they're using NVIDIA and DLSS. I think the only thing that the ROG Ally and the Legion Go has over that, or will have over the Switch 2, is the higher FPS, which is at 120, the 120 FPS. But in all actuality, for those of you guys that don't know, none of these PC handhelds can run your favorite games, at least the AAA games, at 120 FPS. If you're playing a game, for example, a big game like Elden Ring, you're not going to get 120 FPS, 1080p, or 4K connected to a TV, or 1080p, 120 FPS in handheld mode. You definitely can get 60 FPS on Elden Ring. And if you have it plugged in, it could be a stable 60 FPS, I believe. I've gotten 60 FPS with Elden Ring by turning settings down. Not too much, but at a decent rate. Decent, rate where I've gotten 60 FPS. And that's all that matters, guys, because 120 FPS is unrealistic on a handheld, any handheld that's out on the market right now, unless you're playing like smaller indie games, well, that's a little bit different. But AAA games, you're not going to get 120 FPS, so there's no need to even compare the ROG Ally and all these other handhelds in regards to this Switch 2. But I do believe that the Switch 2 is going to be more powerful than the Steam Deck and the ROG Ally for sure. It just makes sense. And it seems like with the Switch 2 that Nintendo's actually focusing on higher resolution this time. So I don't know. I mean, they showed Zelda behind closed doors running in 4K, 60 FPS fast load times, and they showed Final Fantasy 7 remake running on it. I'm not sure what resolution they said it was in, if it was 4K or 1440p or whatever, but the Switch 2 will be, I believe, 4K. Seems like it will be 4K. So, and these handhelds really can't do 4K. So the Switch 2 can do 4K. That's pretty much a big deal. It proves to me that it'll be more powerful than, at least a little bit more powerful than what we have on the market as far as these PC handhelds. But hey, man, that's just my opinion, my educated opinion, my educated hypotheses. It just makes sense to me if you pay attention to all these rumors, because once Nintendo said they're gonna have the Switch 2 running in 4K, it already let me know the system is going to be pretty much powerful. Hell, the current Switch Tegra 1 X chip is capable of 4K. It's just customized to run in lower power efficiency to extend battery life. So that's why the Switch is pretty much again. The Switch is not really underpowered. Nintendo just have that chip locked down to run more efficient. That's all it is. There are mods on YouTube where people have modded their Switch and have gotten the Switch to run in 4K and have gotten the Switch to run pretty much every game in 60 FPS, even higher FPS at 720p. A modded Switch, you can actually run games at 720p and 120 frames. It's definitely possible. The lower scale games. With AAA games, you could at least definitely squeeze 60 FPS across the board at 720p and sometimes even 1080p, depending on how big the game is. But yeah, guys, let me know in the comment section what you think about this article. And I wonder where Moore's Law is getting his information from, because this guy, man, he digs up some pretty good information, but at the end of the day, guys, it's all rumors. We really don't know how powerful the Switch 2 is going to be. And it's kind of pointless to compare the Switch 2 to the Steam Deck and all those other handhelds, because it'll be running the same games. If the Switch 2 can run every single game that the Steam Deck and the ROG Ally can run, there's no point of even comparing them. That just pretty much shows that the Switch 2 will be a force to reckon with. And with the Switch 2 being able to play every single game the Steam Deck can play, it'll be pointless to buy any other PC handheld besides the Switch 2. It seems like the Switch 2 is going to be all that we need. And I'm waiting for the Switch 2, man. I have a Steam Deck. I have 3 Steam Decks. I have a ROG Ally, and I have the Legion Go. And I know on paper, those PC handhelds, they sound good, but I still think the Switch is a better system, man, besides the power behind it. I mean, the Switch is just easier to play games. It's easier to get into a game. It's easier to dock the game and everything. I like how when you put the Switch in the dock, it boosts the graphics and sometimes the frame rate, but more so the resolution. I think Switch just does it the best, man. I think everybody else, all these other PC handhelds, is trying to catch up to the Switch. The only difference between them is they're more open source, and yes, of course, they're more powerful. I mean, logically, it should be because they're newer. The Switch is 7 years old, going on 8 years next year. But the Switch 2, being able to play every single game the Steam Deck can play, is good news, and I think that's all. Excuse me, guys, I can't talk. I think that's all we all wanted from the Nintendo Switch, just to be able to play all of our favorite games on the go. I mean, Nintendo's been listening. Nintendo has been watching. The Switch has been successful. And the only thing they can do is move forward and just give people what they want. Being able to run every single game all these PC handhelds can run. And that will sway people from getting these PC handhelds and more so going towards the Switch 2. People are more likely to grab a Switch 2 over the competition handhelds that's out there, because what's the point? If you can play, it's a win-win situation for Nintendo, because if you can play every single PC game, every single Steam game on the Nintendo Switch, plus you have Nintendo's first party titles and their gimmicks, it's pretty much a game over right there. There is no need for you to buy a Steam Deck or ROG Ally or Ayo Kuni 2, all those little PC handhelds with those funny names. It's going to be pointless to get those handhelds, because the Switch will be able to play all those games, plus have Nintendo first party titles. So the Switch 2 is going to be very big. I know you guys seen the news out there about Nintendo is going to have a big global launch. They purposely held the Switch 2 back so they can have more units on shelves, so people can just walk in the store and grab them, and giving the scalpers less incentive or less motive to even try to nab all the Nintendo Switch 2 and sell them for a high price on eBay and all these other internet websites. And that's a good thing, man. So what I've gotten from this article, whether some of it is true, whether some of it is false, whether it be half and half or walking a fine line, I think this is a good article, and I'm actually really excited for the Switch 2, man. So sorry for ranting this long, guys, but I just like to give my 2 cents, my opinion on the subject matter. But it seems like Nintendo is heading in the right direction and is going to be in a good space when the Switch 2 reveals, when it finally launches. So if you're new to my channel, you already know what to do. Like and subscribe. And if you guys have any questions about this article, or you want to challenge my opinion, just meet me in the comment section and we can get a conversation going. Red Crimson 102, I'm out of here.